everyone, I'm Jonathan Kruk. This is Steve Kelman, and together we're going to present for the Portchester Council for the Arts a little tour in tales, taking you to different places in the Western Hemisphere. So let's begin by everyone reaching up right now and catching words for these stories. Not plain old boring words like good, bad, nice, ugly. Get some words we can see like a rainbow, hear like thunder, taste like, chocolate, maybe touch like a star, and smell like, my skunky socks. So reach up like this, get the sensory words, and then, everyone, say 1, 2, 3. Now throw them into my hat. Thanks. Save a few for your own stories. I'll put this on my head. And now, Steve and I are going to take you away from Portchester, off into the Canada province of Quebec. We're going to go to a place where they parlez-vous français? Not me, but I do know this tale. The musician of the Northern Lights. Once far north of Montreal and Quebec City, in the little hamlet of Saint-Maurice, a family settled round a fire. In their bowls they had their poutine, their fried potatoes smothered in cheese and gravy. They were just eating away when a disturbance, bump, 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 shook their meals. It was getting to be the time of winter, and when someone knocked upon a door with snow on the ground, it meant trouble. Mostly people would stay inside their homes during the cold weather, especially in the dark. There could be wolves about. Well, now, the man stood, went over to the door. The children held their breath. So did their mother. Kitcha-clunk. Oh. They opened their door and looked, and there on the stoop, their eyes met with a peculiar sight. There stood a fellow with a broad smile, and in his arms he carried a little case. The children thought it peculiar that he wore no coat. And this above the fact that his hair was black and white, so too were his clothes, and so too was the little case. He stood for a moment, and then, come in, as was the custom in Quebec. They invited the fellow in. Sit. They sat him by the fire, put a blanket over his shoulders. He said, I won't be needing that. And he set down the case, catching the eyes all the more of the children. They fed him some poutine, gave him a little to drink, and then, as was the custom, once he was warm and fed, they could, what are you doing? Where are you from? What's in the case? How come your hair is black and white? And where is your coat? Don't you know how cold it is here in Saint-Maurice? There are few of any towns north of here, and they're all, lived in by the Inuit. And they know the cold better than all. Well, there's something I know too about the cold in the air here. You'll see. We want to see what's in that case. That's what I'm getting to, said the fellow. And he pushed back his black and white hair, thick-thunk, and opened up the case and produced a violin darker than the night. He tucked it beneath his chin and pulled out a bow as white as bone. And then, when bow touched string, the music began to ring and lift. Why, it seemed even the fire in the fireplace began to dance. And the children shouting. Ha ha! Were on their feet, jumping. Their parents got up too, and the music went ringing out across the snow until curious neighbors come by. "What are you doing?" said they. They brought with them some poutine and drink, and soon they were dancing round, pushing back the chairs and the tables. More and more neighbors came until they were dancing and bumping into one another. And the fiddler kept playing. Why, even a local priest came by. Oh, I love to see it when those who come to my church are filled with joy. And the priest danced too, and the musician played and played and played long into the night. Oh, that night became a marvel, and with a bit of magic, a couple went out, and filled with the music, filled with love, they went to sneak. I'll say no more. And whilst something caught their eye, causing them to stop with their... Do you see it? I do. How can it be? They kept looking back at the house and listening to the music, but their eyes then fixed upon the sight in the sky. 'Twas the northern lights, the aurora borealis, long shimmering curtains of light with green, vermilion, and even touches of maroon and blue, and they jetted and shimmered across the sky. Hold up your hands, move them with the music. For so too were the northern lights, shimmering, dancing with the musician's tune. The couple ran and cried, come see, what our love has brought." And all jumped and said, "Ah, that fiddler, he makes the northern lights move, he makes them dance, he makes them shimmer to his notes." And then some got a little scared. How can he do that? Who is he? What has he got in him? Well, the priest came out. What has he got in him? The devil! Stop, stop! Be gone! And the fellow gave a little bow and a smile and packed up his instrument. A few people slipped him a few loonies and tunies, a little bit of money, and they said, thank you. And he said, you're welcome. Fear not, I'll go to another place. But when you look up to the sky and see the northern lights shimmering, now you'll know who makes them go, who makes them shimmer and dance across the sky. My, oh my. And wide-eyed the children watched as he traveled not to the south, where any sensible stranger would go, but off he went to the north. Perhaps the Inuit would welcome there the fiddler of the northern lights. Thank you. The story of the Rainbow Pony, a Spanish-Mexican-American tale, based on this book by Robert Sands Suchi. Travel with me now down to central Mexico, where there stretch long, flat mountains. They look like tables, and sometimes they're set with things like sunbeams and rainbows. Below them in the valley you'll find cactus and groves with oranges and avocados, but mostly corn, or maize, as it's called there. Now once there lived a corn farmer who loved nothing more save for his sons than his corn. Mornings he would walk into the fields and would whisper sweet little nothings into his ears of corn. You're beautiful, you're sweet. When one morning he discovered rows of his corn had been knocked down. Ah! Come, come, my sons, at once! Come at once! His 3 sons arrived. Father, I'm here, muscles and all. I'm here too. Your intelligent son. I'm here as well, your youngest son. What is it, Father? What is it? Can't you see what it is? Something came in the middle of the night and knocked down rows and rows and rows of corn. One of you will have to stay in this field all the night long to prevent whatever it was from knocking down more corn. Who will it be? Who will it be? Well, the strong son shoved aside his younger brothers. Father, if something dares come into this field, I'll give it the old bing bam boom. I'll take care of it with my muscles. Just be strong enough to stay awake all the night long. Will everyone flex your muscles like our strong son? He sat in the field of corn and watched, presided over it. He could even hear the corn growing by day in the sun. And when night fell thick and fast and filled with stars, to keep himself awake, he made up stories from the shapes he saw in the stars of strong women and strong men. When he ran out of tales, he lifted his voice. Strong men, we have muscles in our heads. Strong men, we don't have to go to bed. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. But he had to go to sleep. The next thing he knew, wake up, wake up! Ooh, what is it? Come on, all right, bring it on. I'll take him out. You'll take who out? Whoever was out, came out and about and ran through my corn. Some strong son you turned out to be. Oh, I'm sorry, Father, it's hard to stay awake all the night long, even for one with all my muscles. What am I going to do? Father, dare not, insisted the intelligent son. I will remain vigilant in this field, not somnambulant. I will serve as your guardian, and I will preside over this corn. Just stay awake all the night long, precisely. And the smart son took up his post in the cornfield. He stood for a while, and then sat, and heard the growing corn. When night fell thick and fast and filled with stars, the smart son counted them, and when he got up to over 2,200 stars, he thought the smart thing to do will be to rouse myself. Smart men, we wear smarty pants. Smart men, we don't sleep or dance. But he did sleep, a deep sleep in the field of corn, until... Wake up! Ooh, what is it? I'll apprehend it. Oh, Father, am I to apprehend you? No! You took a nap, and something again came and knocked down more corn. Now what to do? Father, what is it? Father, what is it, my youngest son? Can't you see we're having trouble? Yes, that's why I'm here. I want to help. How can you help? Yes, how can you help? You lack the strength. You lack the smarts. But Father, I can do no worse than my brothers. Please, let me guard the field tonight. I've no other choice. All right then. Well, the youngest thought, before he stepped into the field. I'm not very strong. My mind can't make up stories about strong or smart men and women. But I do know something about staying awake. He went out and gathered thorns from some of the cactus. Go ahead, pick a few thorns. Ow! Yes, it's a little sharp there. He took them into the field and put them behind where he sat. He heard the corn grow, and when the sky filled thick and fast with stars, he made up no stories, nor counted the sparkling things in the sky. Instead, he just sat there. And when he got a little drowsy and leaned back, go ahead, close your eyes a little. Yes, lean back and say, "Ah!" That was one of the cactus thorns jabbing the youngest son awake. He leaned back again. Oh! And again, "Yowzer!" Go ahead, lean back 3 times and get jabbed awake. 2, 3. And this way he remained awake long through and into the night. Why, he even saw the sun rising over that long, flat table of a mountain, the mesa. Make a sun face over your mesa mountain. And from the rays, there began to glow beams of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Streaming, they covered the mesa. Beaming, they went on the tops of the roofs in the village. And then they began to move toward the field, toward the youngest son, who, awake, cried, "Hey! Go that way!" It would not. "Well, then go this way!" It wouldn't. "Watch out! No! Now! Look out!" And boom! He got knocked down, head over heels, and then he found himself, perched on a most peculiar pony. Its mane and tail held every color of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And wonder of wonders, the pony whispered into the youngest son's ear. "Let me go. Let me go, I beg of you. I must run." "Well, if you must run, please don't run through my father's cornfield." "What's a cornfield?" wondered the pony. "Oh, these yellow and green plants. It's a field of corn. Please stay away. I shall. If you let me go now, I promise I'll come to help you at a time when you won't even know how much you need my help." The youngest thought his brothers, upon catching such an unusual pony, would have kept it and sold it for many pesos. But not the youngest. He wanted to do as his father had asked and make sure no corn got knocked down. "All right then, go, keep your word, but go." And the youngest jumped off of the pony and off it went, leaving a band of rainbow behind to grace the youngest son's father. "Ha ha ha! My youngest! Look! Your corn has been knocked down! Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha!" And he hugged the youngest son until the older brothers grew jealous. So jealous, they resolved, "We won't talk to him. Yeah, he thinks just because he's found father's favor that he's better than us." They didn't say "Buenos dias, buenas noches," or even "Please pass the salt." The older brothers didn't even tell their youngest brother about the big news that had come to the village. the wealthiest man around, Don Pedro, entered. "My friends, listen. There stands my wise, wonderful daughter. She wonders who to marry. I'll marry her, I'll marry her." "Silence! She will only marry one who is both strong and gentle." "I'm strong, I'm strong, I'm gentle, strong and gentle. Come tomorrow morning with your fastest horse and an orange to prove your worthiness for the hand in marriage of my daughter. Go!" This is what the elder brothers neglected to tell the youngest. The next morning, they took their father's finest horses and went to a field where there stood Don Pedro, and beside him sat his wise, wonderful daughter with a blindfold. And there were 99 other young men with horses and oranges in their hands. Don Pedro explained, "Gallop by, my daughter, show your strength, but then prove you are a gentleman by tossing the orange. If it lands and stays in her hands, you will be the one to have earned her hand in marriage. But if the orange does not land in her hand, I will give you a kick in the pants with my pointy boots." And still, they galloped by. "Hold on to your horses. Let's gallop!" They tossed oranges, but wildly they flew. Not one landed in Don Pedro's daughter's hands. And 99 had tried. She stood and removed the blindfold. "Father, is there not a gentle, strong man in this village? Why don't we go north? Perhaps to Portchester. Perhaps there. No, there's 2 more brothers yet to try." And so she sat down and adjusted her blindfold and set out her hands, and our strong son began to show his strength. Come on and gallop with him. Strong man, we have muscles in our heads. Strong man, I'll put this orange in her hands. And then he hurled that orange. Could have signed him up for the Yankees. And splat! The orange smacked the young woman right in the face. Juice dribbled down her chin into her gown. She pulled peels out of her ears and snorted pits from her nostrils. "Father, let us go to the next village. There's one more yet to try. Another young man, the brother of this one." Well, she adjusted the blindfold, and the smart son began his ride. Smart men, we wear smarty pants. Smart men, I'll make this orange dance." And he threw the orange, but splat! Too gently. It splattered in the young woman's shoes. She got juice in her stockings and had peels below her heels. And wiggle your toes, everyone. Imagine orange pits in between them. It's how it was for the young woman. "Let's go to the next town," she cried. And as they were about to go, someone shouted, "Look! There comes another rider on a swift horse, a rainbow following." The young woman sat and adjusted her blindfold, and the rider dashed by, leaving only a rainbow. Alas! He showed his strength, but he forgot to throw his. But from the band of orange, there floated and landed into the young woman's hand an orange. She stood, tore up her blindfold, and proclaimed, "Father, give a bag of gold to the one who brings my future husband to me." But off galloped our strong and smart sons, they caught up with the rider and took him off that rainbow pony. He wore a mask. They brought him before Don Pedro, who brought forth a priest and his daughter, and the daughter holding hands with the masked stranger, married him. And then when they took off the mask, what a jubilation! The crowd cried, "Look! Marrying Don Pedro's wise, wonderful daughter! Why, it's the corn farmer's youngest son! Who? Our little brother?" Well, the strong son's muscles turned to mush, and the smart son's brain about burst. After all, they got a bag full of pesos, but their little brother earned the hand in marriage, the hope of that wise, wonderful woman. If ever you go to central Mexico, where the mesas stretch to touch the clouds and sun, watch for those thunderstorms. For after they rumble through, you look into the sky and you'll see, my oh my, a rainbow being pulled by that rainbow pony, ridden by the corn farmer's youngest son. And friends, now you know of the rainbow pony in Mexico. Thank you. Greetings all, Jonathan Kruk, Steve Kelman here, to take you to the Silver Lands in the Andes Mountains, to listen to a tale from the people who live there, who make beautiful clothes and have a especially kind way about them. You find out about that kindness in this story called The Gentle People. Once in the Silver Lands lived a people who shared everything. Their huts, their blankets, their food, their hugs, their hearts. 'Twas said they were so kind, animals would draw near to them and they could even understand the way in which they spoke. They were especially fond of the luminous-eyed ones, from whom they gathered up wool to make their colorful shawls, the llamas. Their queen said, "We are the gentle people, and we will keep our way, as long as we keep our way here, in our land, among the silvery clouds high above most others. Stay here within our bounds, and we'll always have that gentleness we cherish." And so they did. If a gentle person wore a beautiful shawl they had made from the wool of the llama, and another gentle person saw and said, "Oh, the colors, they're more magnificent than what you would see in the sky," it would move the person who had made that shawl to take it off their shoulder and say, "Here, my gratitude for your compliment. Wear it, wear it." And they would wear it until someone else said, "What a magnificent shawl." And then they would take it off and put on and say, "Wear it in good measure, in good health, in good ways always." When they had meals, they invited all, and no one got too stuffed, but no one starved. If it grew cold and someone of the gentle people perhaps had a hole in their roof, the others would almost argue to say, "You come and sleep with me. You come and sleep in my house. You know, come and sleep in our house. Come and sleep in our house." And so it was with the gentle people. They called to all the creatures, from the skinny little lizards to the prowling jaguar. They always knew what they wanted. One morning, a young man wanted to catch an unusual bird. Its feathers held no color save for white. He ran after it, chased it until he came to the stone wall at the end of the realm of the gentle people. He knew the queen had asked for the people to stay within the land of the gentle folk, but he thought, "I should catch this bird. It didn't come when I first called. There's something unusual about it." So he clambered over the wall and went to the tree where the bird perched. And when he began to climb, something grabbed at his leg. Down he looked into 3 sets of angry eyes. They seemed to shoot with red, but worse. The way they spoke, snarling and lashing out at one another, it appeared as though they had the teeth of dogs. They tugged him down from the tree, and then they began to tear at his shawl. He took it off and gave it to one and said, "Here, here, share, just share. That's what we gentle people do." But the other dog-toothed people began to tug at the shawl and pull and tug and pull and tug until, whoosh, it tore into 3 parts. And the young man ran. He clambered back into the realm of the gentle people and ran straight to the queen. The other folk, seeing the agitation in this young man, followed, and they all looked on. "What is it? Why is he so upset?" The queen put up her hand. "Let's listen." He told the tale I've been telling you, about the dog-toothed ones who tore up my shawl. They didn't even think to share. The people thought, "Unthinkable. Why would they do such a thing?" The queen explained, "They don't know of our way of sharing. They don't have our gentleness. We have to be forgiving, but we have to be ready for them, or else we'll become like them." "What? Become like the dog-toothed ones? You mean we'll argue over things instead of sharing? Why would we do that?" "We will, when they come. But there is something we can do to protect us and to keep our gentle way. Gather in, my people." And the queen of the gentle people gathered all around, and they put arms round one another, and then she uttered a spell. And when the words went forth, the dog-toothed ones were already climbing over the stone wall, entering the land of the gentle people, looking around, taking whatever they could find from the huts of the gentle folk. But when they came upon the place where the queen had gathered round with her people, they found no people. But there stood a herd of llamas who ran off into the high country of the Silver Lands, led by a very royal-looking llama. And the dog-toothed ones left. And now, in the Andes, the Silver Lands, there dwell many llamas. If ever you get to see llamas, look carefully into their eyes. You see a gentleness kindness. You know, you may be looking into the eyes of one of the gentle people turned into a llama and there to stay a llama until the time comes when all over the face of the earth take up the way of the gentle people, caring and sharing. And thank you for letting me share this story of the gentle people with you. Hey ho friends, Jonathan Kruk, your storyteller here with Steve Kelman, to take you on a journey through the wilds of Westchester to Mahikanituck, the river that flows both ways, as the native people called it, the North River as the Dutch knew it, and Hudson's River as it was called by the English. This is a tale from colonial times called The Imps of Donderberg. Once upon a time, you could travel from New York City to Albany on the bone-jaggling Albany Post Road. Why, it would take you 4 days to go the 125 miles, but if you preferred, you could go on board a sailing sloop with 3 big sails and a movable keelboard. And the one up top was shaped rather like my hat. Remember that. Would take you 2 days. Now once upon a time, a skipper, new to the trade, got ordered, "You will sail up Hudson's River and deliver fine cloth to the good folk in Albany." Hudson's River? Ah, alas! Prithee, why can't I go across the ocean to London or Paris? I'd rather even go to Africa. You're going up Hudson's River, or you're fired! And so the fellow boarded the sloop. It was called the Peter Stuyvesant, and he noted it was painted bright, bursting colors. He declared, "Gaudy." And then he looked at his crew, and they were muttering in the old language, even though they were, well, runaway servants and slaves. They spoke Dutch. "What are you yammering about?" "Oh, sorry, skipper. We always talk Dutch here on the Hudson River. That's the language of the river. What can we do for yous? Are you ready to set sail? You gotta say, jib up!" So everyone please say, jib up! And now grab hold of the line, don't call it a rope, and pull it up. And up went the front sail. Now pull up the mainsail, that takes a little more work. And up it went. And the boat pulled out from Peck Slip along the side of Manhattan Isle, and it wended out into the North River, as the Dutch still called it, back in these times of which I speak, the late 1700s. And then it went into the river, past the Palisades, the great chipped rocks, and then into the expansive Tappan Zee that made Henry Hudson cry, "Why, I have found the Northwest Passage to China." A little bit north of there, the crew steps up. "Skipper! Skipper! What is it?" "We're into sailmaker's reach." See, in these days of which I speak, late 1700s, folks sailed the Hudson River by a series of zigs and zags, making it to 14 different reaches. They were in the sailmaker's reach. "Skipper, you better tip your hat, 'cause by the time we get by Donderberg, them imps will come out and they'll sink this ship. Ha ha. Or, if we're lucky, they might just tear up a sail and we'll have to go to Haverstraw and have a new sail sewn. We'll get through this. Why, I've sailed out on the Atlantic Ocean, the Hudson River. Come, come, let's go. But Skipper, just tip your hat for us. My hat stays upon my head. Even as that was said, high above, at Donderberg mountain, there rose what seemed to be mists. But you look into the fogs on the Hudson River, and you'll see among those mists and fogs faces of those who have drowned. If you're brave enough, make the face of a drowned soul now. There sat the Heer of Donderberg, the master of the imps, and in his hand he held a trumpet. He brought it up to his lips and gave a clarion call. And the imps obeyed. They rose up from the Hudson River and gathered round at Donderberg. And they had their orders. Grabbing gusts of wind, go ahead, get one. They went spinning, tumbling head over heels, with their bulbous-bottomed Dutchman's breeches, their waistcoats and pointed hats. They went north, above the Pinjip, the Timp, and Bear Mountain. They went beyond Crow Nest to the little valley in the shadow of Old Storm King, and there, the Hag of the Highlands stirred her brew. Her arms covered with fish scales, her hair hangs like seaweed, her hands like blue crab claws. Imps! Would you like some thunder? I'll give it to you. But I want the bones of that skipper who will not tip his hat. And they agreed, and the witch began to stir up a thunderstorm. She conjured up great blasts of thunder and lightning, and the imps pushed that storm down against the sloop of that skipper who would not tip his hat. They went from side to side, leeward to starboard, swaying. Everyone swayed this way and that way and this way and that way. And if you get a little seasick on the Hudson River, that was what happened in those days. You can hear they were getting ill. Well, they tore down the sails. The skipper cried, "Look alive, man, look alive! We'll weather this storm. I've seen far worse on the Atlantic Ocean. Come, come, look alive!" And they pulled down the sails, but many passengers began to retch and grow sick. They came up onto the deck. What are we going to do? Hang on, hang on! And then the crew pointed. "Looky there, skipper! On the bowsprit! There's the Imp of Thunderbird himself! Tip your hat, tip your hat!" Well, through the fog and rain and thunder and lightning and storm peered the skipper. He proclaimed, "That's no imp! Looks like a demon to me, and well doth I know what to do about demons. Well, cast him out by the word of Saint Nicholas. Come, 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 call for Saint Nicholas." Well, along the Hudson River, the Dutch folk knew this fellow as Sinterklaas. So they cried, "Sinterklaas, Sinterklaas." So you know how it was. Everyone cried, "Sinterklaas, Sinterklaas. Sinterklaas, Sinterklaas." Now say, "Save our sloop! Save our sloop! Sinterklaas!" Well, the imps cared little for this wish and prayer. Instead, they asked the witch for more thunder. And she gave it to them. And they grew so frightened, they began to make that wish and prayer inside out and backwards. Say it like this. "Ritska Woodyes, Hoga Bindilablago." Ha? You laughed. well, so too did the Imps of Thunderbird. Especially the leader, the hero of Donderberg. And he figured laughter would be this skipper's toll to sail through the Hudson Highlands on to Albany. And he brought back his little trumpet and gave another blast. And the imps obeyed and pushed aside the thundering storm. The sun slanted through, and it seemed they would sail through the Warragut, the wind gate between Storm King and Great Neck Ridge. But the skipper had to boast and brag. Oh, that was nothing, that storm. I've seen far worse out in the Atlantic Ocean. Why, there was a time. And then the hero of Donderberg gave one more blast on that trumpet. And whoosh, it blew off the hat of the skipper and sent it sailing north to the Church of St. Nicholas in the Hudson Highlands. And the next time that skipper, or any other skipper worth his brine, sailed up Hudson River, you know what they did? Do you know what they do now unto this day? They tip their hats to the imps who still ruled over the Highlands from Donderberg to Polypel Isle. And if ever you try to go through the Highlands, just a little north of the Bear Mountain Bridge, make sure you tip your hat to sail on through the Highlands. And good friends, that's the story of the Imp of Donderberg. Thank you.